Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this Operation SafeDrop briefing on the Homes for Ukraine scheme and why it's great to be a sponsor for Ukrainian guests in the UK. I just quickly want to do introductions to those on the call. Firstly, joining me here in Lviv, Ukraine, is Carrie Anderson, who is head of operations for Operation SafeDrop, and Mo Hornick, who's one of our matching coordinators here in Lviv. We've also got Mick Sanderson, who's leading ongoing support in the UK for sponsors and guests. We have Fiona, who is a UK sponsor, Arena, who is a UK guest in Sussex, and Igor, who's our evacuation partner and one of our Ukrainian guests in the UK. My name's Toby Illingworth, and I run operations here in Lviv, Ukraine for Operation SafeDrop. Before we start, if anyone has any questions, you'll find the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. If you click that and just pop your question in there, then we'll get to it during the course of the webinar. So first up, I'm going to turn to Mo to talk about the Homes for Ukraine scheme and what it really means. So Mo, over to you.
Great, thanks, Toby. Yeah, so I'll keep it quite light because I'm assuming most people on the call will have a bit of an overview of an idea of what the Homes for Ukraine scheme is already. But just for those of you who don't, it's the scheme that the UK government opened at the start of the conflict to allow UK residents to open their homes or offer accommodation for people who were fleeing Ukraine at the time. And at the moment, there's been 92,000 applications made through the scheme, and about 55,000 people have arrived in the UK through the scheme, which is great. And just over 200 of those have come through Operation SafeDrop and the MAD Foundation, and hopefully lots more to come as well. Obviously, the important thing with the hosting schemes, it's not just a case of offering your spare bedroom or your spare property in some cases. It's also being there to kind of support people, get to know the area, help them register for services, and be a kind of friendly face and like a welcoming family to the UK as people kind of start their new life there, really. It's important to say lots of people who are applying for the scheme, both from Ukraine and from the UK side, come from all different walks of life and have all different support needs and have many different intentions in the UK as well. So some people are looking for somewhere that it may be temporary, maybe for a period of a few months, up to 6 months, and they're looking for somewhere temporary that they can be until they're able to return to Ukraine. Other people are looking for an opportunity to start a new life completely. So somewhere they can, register their children in schools, find jobs, and start to put down some real roots. So a lot of what we do here, it's not just about saying, oh, well, you're a host, you've got one bedroom, and we've got someone who needs one bedroom, off you go. We try to really get to know people on both sides. So both the kind of support and the dynamic that a host has within their house, and matching that up with somebody that we think would be a really good fit, like socially, but also in terms of their support needs and in terms of their intentions within the UK. How are we going to kind of make that best fit together? So it's not just a case of you've got a bedroom, off you go. It's more a case of how are we going to make this a really kind of beneficial match for both sides. So that's a lot of what we do. And I think we are going to hand over to Carrie now, who's going to talk us through a little bit of our new guests on the call.
Yeah, sure. So I just wanted to say a bit about MAD Foundation and Operation SafeDrop here. So we arrived sometime in early March over to the Poland border, and we worked out of the Przemyśl Humanitarian Center there for quite a bit of time. So when we first arrived, we thought we would do some short drives, get people where they need to go. There were so many people coming over the border. And then it quickly grew as we started networking. For example, Igor, we started working on evacuations, taking, he does evacuation routes that I'll talk about in just a minute. And then we were doing the crossing the border end of it into Poland and making sure people got safely to the humanitarian center. We also do aid drops. We just started networking and got a lot of things going. And one of those projects that's big for us is the UK Homes for Ukraine, making sure that we're doing it responsibly, doing it well here, and that we are in Lviv and open an office here, so we can have walk-ins and people who need information, and then we have volunteers on the ground. So that's a bit about us. And then I guess as long as I already introduced them, I would love to hear a little bit from Igor. We actually have one of our drivers is actually finishing a run for that of 6 people that Igor brought through to Lviv today. So so tell us a little bit about how what our partnership is and what you do out there.
Yeah, hi everyone. Okay, from the start of the war, we're starting to make these refugee circles. Well, basically, I was counting. It was starting from 10th day of the war, and we made the circles. We call it circles because we are taking refugees to the Lviv, and from Lviv we are taking humanitarian and military aid back to the front line. So we have this round a circle. We called it from Lviv to Lviv. Its circle is done. That when we met MAD guys foundation, I even don't remember how we get in touch with Carrie and John, and many people asking like how you meet them. I don't remember really. We just in some period of time we started to work, and it's actually they are making like someone is telling that we are making the hardest job. It's not. All of us is making 50 on 50, because that's what we are getting people to the border, and these guys is taking them after to their trip. I will say like this. Yeah, that because they need to make papers. Somebody coming without papers, without documents. Somebody need to make visa. Somebody to find out sponsorship. Somebody is traveling further. And from Ukrainian side, I can say you that when we're making circles, I'm making posts on my Facebook page that we are going to make a circle, and I have well around 15-20 questions how it will be, what will be. We are going with children, we're going with our baggage, yeah, how many baggage we can take, what we need, what documents we need. So very lot of questions what even I don't have answers, especially about this scam of Ukrainian Britain. Yeah, so basically I'm contacting Carrie, I'm giving her phone number, like okay, she's speaking Russian at last, because many people is not speaking English. So in some it's very helping us, because I'm head of this convoy, what we are doing. So I have actually 150 other questions. So like when we're taking back refugees, it's very, very for me easy that I have these guys. Because I know that like, oh, okay, you have many questions, please contact Carrie. We will take you in Chernihiv at this time, at this place, and you will go with us. Yeah, okay. So they can contact in her. Well, for those answers, what I know, I'm giving to people. If that's enough, okay. If not,
Igor, yeah, I actually also wanted to ask you, your wife and son actually partook in the Ukraine, in the Homes for Ukraine scheme, and are in the UK. I just wanted to quickly ask, how are they, and how did you find the process getting them to safety?
Yeah, they are very good. Everything is fine. They in Newcastle, in nice family. People very people very good. In compare even to our country, it's different. Totally, I can say that. I don't know, is it everywhere in United Kingdom or not, but in what my family is seeing, they like impressed, I can say. Like,
oh, that's so sweet. All right, thanks, Igor. We'll, if people have questions for you, they can write into the chat and you can talk later. Yeah. Toby, I think we were going to ask to hear from one of the other panelists.
Yes, absolutely. Thanks, Carrie. So next up, we've got Irina, who is one of our guests in the UK. Irina, thank you so much for joining us. Could I first of all ask you, what was it like when you first got to Heath and Hannah, your sponsor's house?
Hello to everyone. My English not so good as English. It's your English, but I will try to explain. We met with Heath and Hannah just after 5 minutes after Toby sent us a link. We give a call, and after 1 hour we get offer from them to go to their house. And this evening, it was so quickly, we even can't understand how it can be like this. And this evening we prepare all documents for a visa with Toby help, with Mick help, and it spent a lot of time. We make it maybe 3.5 hours because we don't ready to everyone, to everything. So as I remember, it finished near 11:30 Ukrainian time. And I see it not easy to Med Foundation work all day and 24 hours for help Ukrainian. So thank you very much.
A pleasure. And tell us a little bit about how it felt arriving with Heath and Hannah, arriving in someone else's home, and how they welcomed you when you got there.
We have we got very good friends, I think, and I don't find the right word. I feel we like in the family. Of course, we understand it's not our house and we think about future, but they treat us so much, and sometimes even I feel a lot of guilty because I understand they spent a lot of time for fix all our problem with documents, with banks, with school, because I go to England with my oldest daughter. She's near 16 years old, and we find a school. We find the possibility to change some rules in England because of age difference and difference in rules about school grade, and not so easy also. And everyone who go to England and have one of reason to finish its study should accept these rules and think about it also. Because we don't think about it just when we come, we start think it spent a lot of time for it, and Heath and Hannah help us very much.
Fantastic. Thank you, Irina. And could I ask what you would like to tell or say to anyone who's considering being a UK sponsor? What would be your words of advice to anyone looking to do what Heath and Hannah have done for you and Irina?
Can you ask more again, because I didn't understand rightly maybe your questions.
Okay, for anyone who's thinking about being a UK sponsor, what would you like to say to them about the whole process?
For England person, yes?
Yes.
I think everyone should take into account mental difference between a UK person and Ukrainian person. Take into account also difference with spending utility, for example. It's also not easy because in Ukraine sometimes we have low price for gas, electricity, water, and something like this, and not everyone understand. But for first, I think sponsors should ask about real reason and be sincerely with guests and also try to ask to be sincerely with sponsor. Ask guests to be sincerely with sponsor, because main thing, it's main reason, as Carrie told you for us before, and some people want to start new life, some people want to finish a study, some people, for example, our situation, we don't think we family, 5 people, I have 3 children, 16 years old, 6 years old, and 3 years old. And for us, it's not easy to start new life in new country, because we have something in our country, we still have a work. It's not like usual, but we think it's a good idea to help oldest daughter to finish the study, because in Ukraine it's not possible now because of situation. We don't have teachers, possibility to concentrate, even place, because we now in rent house in mountain, and we don't have possibility. And this was the first reason, and we thought about it. But for study, we need to not half year, 2 years, and it's. I think it's a good idea to speak for first about main reason. What is this? Because some people think I will come to England and will live and find to have a good mood after war, because we traumatized all of us, and for us not easy to start something new. And when we get also a lot of treatment, we start to be more weak.
Yes. Fantastic. Well, thank you so very much, Irina. We're so pleased that the relationship between you and your hosts are going so well, and I hope you continue to have a very happy and peaceful time in the UK. We've also got a number of people who have joined the call looking to get involved in Operation SafeDrop. And what we are doing here. Carrie, perhaps I can hand over to you again for this bit.
Yeah, so in terms of our operations here, we obviously have volunteers who come out and do work on the ground with us in Poland and at our Lviv location. So that's an opportunity we have. But we also do a bunch of remote work. So when we're doing matching, oftentimes the family can be on site, but oftentimes they're not. So we do matching remotely as well. So we have Ukrainian coordinators that contact the families and keep up with them if they're not at one of our office locations. Also, I have a translator phone bank where I have a bunch of people who have interpreting skills that have volunteered to just be on call if people need translators. For example, sometimes we do the calls where when you first get to your host family, if a Ukrainian guest doesn't have English skills yet, we'll do a translation call with, where do you take out the trash, and how do I get my bank account set up, and all the little nits that you do when when you're in your own country moving into a new home. There's all sorts of those issues. So we do that as well. But if you are interested in volunteering, you can go to our website at www.operationsafedrop.com. And there you can find a link to volunteer. I was thinking also Mick does a lot of work on the ground in the UK, and I think perhaps we could turn it over to Mick to discuss a little bit about the work you do, and also if there's volunteering opportunities there as well.
Hi everybody. Yeah, Techno is here, couldn't unmute, so good to see you all. I'm glad to see you joining the webinar. I'm here supporting the situation on the ground in the UK, in particular Sussex. I'm here to support both hosts and our Ukrainian guests forge their way through the difficult initial process of registering for everything in the UK. And as per usual within the government situation and various teams over here in the infrastructure, it's not an easy path to go through. As Fiona's nodding there, I can see because she was one of the forerunners to make that work for us. I'm also
Actually, Mick, your microphone is a little bit cutting out. If you're able to, yeah, that might work better.
Sorry. Okay, so in addition to that, I also act as a confidential support to both the hosts and our Ukrainian guests, because it's very understandable for people to be in somebody's home, both ordinarily lead their own lives, have different expectations of how things are done, and those initial stages of communication are quite often very difficult. And as we all know, sometimes the message that's sent by one person isn't exactly the same message that's sent by the other. So I act as I pay a visit to the host family and the Ukrainian guests shortly after arrival to make sure everything's going okay. And then I act as a point of contact for everybody, really, from either on the Ukrainian side, if a message has got through to you guys there, or from hosts and guests here to say, can we clarify a couple of points? Are there any issues going? So in that respect, I've made visits to all of the families here so far. And sometimes I've met them together and sometimes I've met them apart. And various questions have been asked. Usually it has to be said of what might seem like a simple and insignificant matter, but do you know what? No little thing, if the question's being asked, is important, and we're able to forge a way through to clarify a point. And usually, and in fact, I think on only one occasion where we've had a bit of a challenge, but even then we managed to get that through. And so far, touch wood, all of the matches and all of the hosts and guests, their lives are progressing very well, adults and children in the same vein. So in that respect, sort of we've tried and tested and forged our way forward, and it's working. We've set up relevant Facebook accounts for guests and hosts, for guests on their own, so that they can sort of forge their own community links within our community. Little things like coffee mornings are starting to come to fruition, and friendships have been forged very quickly, it has to be said. So, the first thing is I can't thank the hosts enough, because they are doing a very good and worthwhile job, for want of a better word. And secondly, the hosts are very obviously happy in their domain, and know they've got a support network around them. So, and in that respect, I've had a few phone calls, I've had a few emails, and cracking on with all of them, and everything's going swimmingly at the moment.
Great. Toby, you also do a bunch of activities and things when you're in the UK, as opposed to where you are now here in Lviv. But did you want to speak just quickly about some of the activities that Mick was talking about in the support that we give to Ukrainians when they arrive?
Yeah, absolutely. So in addition to the one-to-one support that Mick was talking about there, and the organization of coffee mornings and other activities to bring our Ukrainian families and our sponsor families together, we also are very keen to encourage the wider local community to include our Ukrainian guests within the events that they are hosting. So one great opportunity for this was the Jubilee celebrations that happened a couple of weeks ago. And I know up and down the country, people were including their Ukrainian guests in the Jubilee celebrations. Certainly in Buxted, the part of the world that Mick and I are from in Sussex, we dedicated a part of our celebration to welcoming our Ukrainian guests, which I think and I hope went down very well. And was warmly welcomed. But there are a huge number of groups and organizations and just ordinary members of the community who are so keen to ensure that our Ukrainian guests feel welcome and feel part of our wider community in the UK. But I think one of the areas that we're yet to focus on is how it feels to be a sponsor and to effectively welcome a family into your home. And joining us, we have Fiona, who is one of our UK sponsors. And Fiona, I was just going to ask what it was like welcoming a Ukrainian family you'd never met before into your home.
Well, it was quite nerve-wracking in a way, because we'd had the only contact we'd had a 10-minute phone call, and then since that point, the family and I were in constant contact via WhatsApp, and so all the questions and things they had to answer, they wanted to ask, we did via that. So we weren't, when you arrive at the airport waiting for them to come through, there's always that sort of slightly nervous moment on both sides. I mean, because mostly on theirs, I should think, because they have no idea what they're coming to. But right from the word go, we had always said through the WhatsApp that we would, it was important to keep communication open all the time. If anyone had any worries, that they would come and talk to us, and us with them. And that has continued in its work, and it seems to have worked well. And I think communication is the key to it, and just being open and also being able to listen, because in this particular situation, there were personal things that they wanted to talk about, and being open to that, and not being judgmental or anything is really important, because we have no idea really about what the Ukrainian families have been going through, and it's we see a bit of it on the news, but that's not what it's like to live that particular reality.
Absolutely. I think that's a really important point to highlight. Were there any concerns that you had early on in the process?
No, I think when I started thinking about, or we started thinking about doing this, it was sort of slightly naively that, we'd welcome into our home, and then that would be great, and it would all going to work. I don't think I quite appreciated the amount of forms I would end up having to fill in, and the ridiculously complicated forms that they are, that one person will be asked one thing, then you go back in to do the second form, and you ask completely different questions, and you think, have I done the right thing for the other one now? But you can't go back and change it. And it's just, that side of it was really quite nerve-wracking, actually. But having got through that, got through and sort of done the bank, the universal credit, the child benefit, all these different things, which I hadn't really appreciated I was going to get involved with beforehand. I've learned an awful lot. But everyone, I have to say, has been incredibly welcoming and helpful. Going down to the job centre and things like that, people actually were welcoming. They made the experience as easy as they possibly could, and they are inclined to be helpful. So these endless forms that you fill in, that you worry about, when it comes to it, actually, they're saying, well, don't worry, because it's the Ukraine, so we're fast tracking everything through. So you still have to do it, you still have to go through it, but I have to say that everyone has been pretty helpful, actually, on the whole.
Fantastic. Well, I wish the UK banks were as helpful to UK people as they are to Ukrainian guests coming in. Did you have any difficulties that came up that you were not expecting when you decided to sponsor?
Oh gosh, no. I mean, just the difficulties are just the endless forms. I mean, sorry to keep going back about that, but that is the biggest hurdle that we've got over. I suppose school places was another. I spent quite a lot of time ringing around various schools, and was getting quite concerned at one stage, because I knew with our family that the education side was really important for the daughter that was coming. And I was beginning to despair at one stage when I, kept ringing up and they kept saying, we're full. We've taken our allocation or whatever. And I kept thinking, what are we going to do? And then we were incredibly lucky and happened to ring on the right day when a particular school had just decided that they were going to take I think they'd taken 6 Ukrainian girls in. And so we were unbelievably lucky on that one. And the daughter is now at that school and extremely happy and very tired, because of course for them they're having to operate through different languages, you know, all the time, and they're taking in. I was quite staggered to hear that she was learning not only English but Spanish, French and Latin in her first week, and sign language, which she loves. And I thought, gosh, no wonder she's absolutely exhausted by the end of it, because she was also having to translate everything back into Ukrainian as well. So that was one of the difficulties, I think, was the education and finding a place. But they are around, but you have to look for them.
That's really useful information. Thank you. Finally, were there any misunderstandings or hiccups initially that you were able to sort of laugh about later on, or misunderstandings that occurred?
Well, I mean, inevitably with language, there are always going to be some interesting moments when you're not entirely sure that you've quite understood what's going on, and they perhaps don't quite understand what's going on either. So yes, you can obviously, there will be times, but it's been for us, it's been a really positive experience. It's something I am so glad that we did. When I started off, I think it was because we just felt, watching the news, that we just wanted to help these people, because the Ukrainians are incredibly brave, courageous, wonderful people, and I have to say everyone that I have met from there has really impressed me. They're just lovely people, and they also don't want to feel that they are beholden to you all the time. They also want to give back, and I think there've been one or two times when I've just suddenly been presented with a lovely plate of food at a time when I was just thinking about doing something else, but it's just lovely. And it's just, they want to feel that they want to say thank you, because I know that the people who are coming here are very grateful to us. We're very grateful to them because we're learning from them too. It's been, as I said, a very positive experience. And I think the one thing I would like to say is that the children of Ukraine are that country's future, and anything we can do to help get them to safety, give them the best education that we possibly can, so that when they can go back to their country again, that they are that future and they will be there to help, ready to build it back up again. And I feel that I have changed my view very much on why we're taking people in towards that, because I think we really want Ukraine to have that future. It's so important for them.
Well, that's a really brilliant point you make there, and thank you so much to you and to all our hosts who have already come forward for giving up your homes and welcoming people in. We really cannot appreciate or thank you enough for your support. Next up, we wanted to go back to Mo to talk about some of the specifics on sponsoring. So Mo, back to you.
Yeah, definitely. So, oh, sorry. There's obviously, as you've heard throughout the course today, there's lots of different ways to get involved in terms of volunteering your time or volunteering your skills. So if you are interested in doing getting involved in a way that's not hosting, then you can definitely still get in touch with us through the website, which is operationsafedrop.com. But if you are interested in hosting, if you know you're definitely up for hosting, you can register with us as a host through that website as well. But if you're considering it and not really sure if you're eligible or if it's quite for you, then you can also get in touch with us, and we'd be more than happy to have a chat with you and to talk through any specific questions you might have. But in terms of hosting, to be eligible, you have to commit to offer your home for 6 months. You're welcome to offer it for longer if you would like. You have to be a UK resident, and obviously offering your home for a minimum of 6 months would mean that you would also have to have 6 months in your home. So if you're renting, that could be fine too, as long as you've got the permission of your landlord. Generally it shouldn't affect things like your mortgage or your insurance either, but it's worth double checking. And you will be asked to go through a DBS check, which is a criminal records check. So every over 18 in your family will be asked to go through that before your guest arrives. But you don't have to have necessarily any kind of specific skills. You don't have to be like trained working with refugees or a translator or anything like that. One of the most important criteria, I think, is just having empathy for people, and really being able to understand what life might be like for you if you were in that situation, and how could somebody make your life as comfortable as possible. And I think that is a huge thing. And I think we have hosts from all walks of life. People who are builders, plumbers, lawyers, doctors, architects, town councillors, all sorts of different things. And also our host demographic is very different too. So we'll have people who have young families who are looking to sponsor maybe another young family of children of the same age, so that can kind of fit with their dynamic. We have hosts who are retired couples who are looking for, you know, somebody who's in that kind of same part of life as them, so they can kind of relate in that way. It's quite popular. We've got quite a few retired couples who don't really get to see their grandkids as much as they'd like, so would love to have little kids running around the house all the time. And we've had some really beautiful matches in that way as well. So what I would say is, if you are even considering it and you think, oh, but we're not quite sure if someone, like we can't just open our house to anyone and we don't know who would be a good fit for us, then that really is kind of what we do here, is finding out what would be a good fit for you, and making sure that actually it's somebody who's going to fit into the dynamic of your household. And so yeah, I think that's probably about it. I don't know if you wanted to open for questions now.
Yeah, so we've gotten a couple of questions in the chat, and of course we can add more, but oh, sorry. The first question is kind of a funny one for Igor. Igor, somebody wants to know how many miles you think you've done in all of your laps.
In total?
Yeah.
Well, 21 we can equals, I think, on 1,600 in middle, because half of the roads was 2,000 kilometers, and basically half is now 1,500, I think, one round. So quite enough.
A lot. Is the answer.
It's like I'm saying, after this I can have all driver license automatically.
That's a lot of tires.
Oh, the tires make? I think
38,000 kilometers. It's how many?
Yeah, a lot.
Almost 24,000 miles.
Wow.
And
that's fascinating.
For 3 months only. Well, actually, okay. I want to, that was question about like what you can say to the sponsors, for that. I want to say just, I think, don't be scared to take Ukrainians. Yeah, because even Ukrainians, well, when we are driving refugees, actually we're making elections, like why you going abroad, what you will do, like there is no way that you will sit on some like social payments, that you should go to work, you should to found yourself there. And actually many people, more than half, they already know when they are getting with us to our cars that they are going there for work. So basically people is understanding that where they are going and what they will be doing. And in UK, as I know, it's not enough very big like quantity of skilled professions. I think you called it, like plumbers, woodworkers, like medical surgeons, medical doctors, or how to say, in general, medical institutions need people. So I think will be not too much problem in the future with that. Only what is everyone is like little bit the Ukrainian is worrying, like because I hear often this question, like what will be in 3 years, because there is a permit only for 3 years, so should we plan our life here for longer? Like, because I know that some regions of United Kingdom you can buy a property for £40,000, like small houses, and actually it's not too much. Cars, for example, is much cheaper than in Ukraine. So everyone don't see like big well, you know, Ukrainians is a people who is well, Ukraine is a so nice country that it's teached Ukrainians to survive in many
reasons.
yeah, in many other even countries, it's not a problem for Ukrainian to survive at all. He will find the work. Ukrainian is a good guy or good woman. Yeah, child will study English easily, and basically they can even buy property in future. And I don't think that it's hard. Like well, salaries in UK is much bigger than in Ukraine. So like what they can count on in future, it's a question, like if they will be allowed to stay more or they should to leave. So this I question here very often. Some of people came by their own cars, how they can get registered Ukrainian cars in Ukraine, and it's too like a question. And like because like to make an custom clearance totally in UK of Ukrainian cars, it's not really, I think, good reason for this. But I know that somehow it can be to make registered just registration of Ukrainian cars in Ukraine, so they have UK plates. Well, there is like, you know, many questions about anything, but in total, I think will be no problem actually in future.
Yeah, thank you. We got another question that I think it's a little bit of a pivot, if that's okay, but we got a question about what the conditions are in the refugee centers that a lot of our volunteers work in, and how the life there is when people start their journey. So I can certainly speak to that, as I was there for a couple of months, pretty much. I mean, yeah, not sleeping a lot, working more hours than I probably should have. But so the refugee centers are sort of a microcosm of support of everything that a guest would need when they come across the border. But they're also incredibly busy, crowded. They can be very loud and chaotic for people who have just been through an extremely difficult, often multiple day journey just to get across the border. So we have a room in the Shemesh Center that has 477 beds. And at the peak of when we were seeing people come through, those beds were all filled every night. There were times where we had mattresses in the hallway because we don't turn people away. And so and then in that chaos, people are just trying to figure out what they're going to do next. And so our translators sort of start interpreting, answering questions for people who are asking about, for example, I want to go to Spain, I want to go to the UK, what, will I have a home there? Will I be able to earn money and feed my children? But you start to turn into their caseworker as well, because there's so much to figure out about what is offered there. Where is the clinic? My daughter might have a fever. What am I supposed to do? From that to like, do they have hair dryers here? You get all sorts of questions, but you are sort of the emotional, there's a lot of emotional weight to those caseworking opportunities. So we do see people transition from a really difficult place, and then hopefully once they figure out where they're going to go and make that decision, then you start to see a transformation already at the center. So that I think is sort of part of what we see from start to finish in each case. And I believe with all of the positive things I'm hearing about everybody who's in the UK already or hosting someone, is that the transformation of going from that difficult time and working through it on your journey, but then also working through it when you get to the UK and figuring out, how to make yourself a better life there. I think, so when we see the difficulties at the center, we also try to be hopeful that we know that there are places and people who will help people and get them to safety, but also just a peaceful life for the duration of the war.
So we had another question come in that said, if I'm not able to host after the end of 6 months, what would happen to my guest? The minimum that the UK government is asking people to offer is 6 months. Many people would like to offer more, but obviously initially would like to see how it goes. I mean, 6 months alone is quite a long time. But when a Ukrainian comes into the UK under the Homes for Ukraine visa, they're eligible for all of the same support that a UK citizen would be. So they are eligible for housing benefit, they're eligible for job seekers allowance, they're eligible for any of the elements of universal credit that a UK citizen would be eligible for. So even if within that 6 months, although obviously the intention is to offer it for a minimum of that, but even if at any time within that 6 months, as a host, you're no longer able to host that person. Obviously, as much notice you can give them as possible is preferable, but they're eligible for housing benefits, so they're also eligible to go onto the council house waiting register as well. So they can either approach the council and see if they're able to house them. They can see if they can find somewhere privately to rent that would accept housing benefit. But also there are other charities as well offering rematching possibilities. So charities like Refugees at Home have been offering hosting opportunities for refugees for many years now, including Syrian refugees, refugees from Afghanistan, and from the beginning of this scheme, they were also offering rematching opportunities. So it's not like, oh my gosh, if something really awful happens to us or our house, there's absolutely no way at all that we can get out of this. There's other charities there who are able to support you and other options as well.
I'd like to say that we get that question from Ukrainian families as well on their end, because I think something that everybody on this call is very familiar with. It's a very daunting thing to suddenly be living with somebody that you've just met. So we do have a lot of questions from the Ukrainian side as well. They want to find an apartment, perhaps. They both ask, is that possible? But also, am I going to offend my host? For example, if they've invited me into my home, but actually, they found a job opportunity somewhere else and they want to move. So we get those questions on both sides. And that, again, as Fiona was talking about, is just being open and communicating and making sure that and as Irina said, also just being sincere and honest about what you can offer and what your needs are.
Today I read one post in Facebook. One woman from England, she sent a message. I live near London, 10 miles, and I want to propose 1 bedroom and 1 bathroom for 1 person who want to work and who can share with me a utility bill. And a lot of people start to write not good thing, but I think she is really right and she is good. She can propose like room, but she understands she can do it if someone can share with her some utility, because of course, if someone live with you with a lot of water, a lot of, we have a different way. For example, we have more high temperature in Ukraine in our home all time. Sometimes we like open the window, fresh air, but turn on our heating. But in England, you spend so economically, and this also a problem, and I understand it, and it's good when people speak about everything like in family. When you want to have a strong family, you all time should speak about everything. And I think it's a good idea to have one evening during 2 weeks to share feelings between host and family and speak about everything, because it will help to keep in touch and be with good relationship during these 6 months. Because sometimes we want to do something good, but it seems not like good. For example, I hear one story about one woman who lived with a couple, a retired couple, and she see that couple every morning have a cup of tea, reading the magazine, and she think I should be in my room and give them space to be together. And but after 2 weeks, a woman from this couple say her, Lena, you sleep so long, it's not right, you should wake up early. But she say, I wake up early at 7 o'clock and I in my room upstairs for hours, forgive them space. So if they have a possibility to speak with each other, it will be good, because they can decide it which time they have to be in own space, and everything will be okay. And of course, these 4 hours, if she can go for a walk or maybe go to find a work or something like this. But we try to be polite with every side, and sometimes it can be like put everything in bag, and this bag heavy, 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 heavy. And after 3 months or 4 months, it will be more heavy. So I think it's a good idea to speak every time if you have time with each other, and propose to Ukrainian whom you help, and also for your host family, not take inside you, not just think I should be all time polite. You should all time speak about everything, about rules and family, about time when we wake up, about utilities, about everything, even about meal.
Yeah, I think that's really, I think it's a really, really important point. I think there's a lot of hesitancy to begin with, even if it's a family member coming to stay with you, you know, you want to be so polite, and you go, oh, it will be nice for them if I just don't say anything. And actually, it's probably more comforting if you're able to say to someone, you know, okay, well, this happened, and actually we don't do it like this, or we were thinking of doing it. It's more comforting, because then you go, like, I know what they're thinking, you know. Yeah, I don't have to sit in my room and go, is it okay if I go downstairs? You know. And yeah, like, actually sometimes it can feel a little bit awkward to begin with, but actually in the long run it's much more comforting.
But I wanted to also mention, thanks for bringing that up, Irina, about the Facebook thing. That's sort of one of the reasons one of the main triggers for us to really start doing this matching process, because we saw a lot of people matching on Facebook, which we really discourage. And also our program sort of gives the opportunity for us who have seen a lot of families go through the process, set expectations, and also give advice on how to welcome someone into your home, as you're saying. But we're able to sort of, on the matching end, as Mo was discussing, really try to get to know the person and see how we can make a good fit. So one of the questions I think Mo asked that's great is kind of like, is your house an energetic, boisterous, outgoing house, or are you more reserved? Because obviously that's a big thing to consider. And you may not have thought of that when you just think, oh, well, I'll offer my 2 bedrooms to, you know, 3 individuals. But, you know, are they, you know, what kind of fit are they for you? Toby, any last questions?
Yeah, there's just one more that's come in, which is for Fiona, saying, would you do anything differently as a host?
Would I do anything differently? Oh gosh, I don't think so. I think that's a hard one. No, I can't see I would do anything differently, really. I hope I'm doing the right thing. But by our family, I think we seem to get on very well. And I mean, there is laughter, and there are tears as well, because, you know, there are difficult times as well that everyone goes through. It's so it can be, you know, different emotions will come to the front. Again, it's being prepared to listen and be there and give a hug if needed, on occasions, just to, you know, because that's, you know, everyone, they know their family and everything are back in Ukraine, and they, you know, you sort of are there to support them in that way. But I have to say, over the Jubilee weekend, that the most wonderful thing was two things. One was to see the pride that was taken by the group of Ukrainians, about 10, I think there were about 10 of them there, when the Ukrainian national anthem was played, and to watch them, it was wonderful. But then after that, when the dancing was going on, to see them just really smiling, dancing, and from being quite reserved to suddenly feeling that they could, it was all right, that they could actually enjoy themselves. And increasingly we're seeing that here, with particularly with the daughter that's here, who started off very quiet, very shy when she first arrived, and really nervous about what she was, the situation she'd come from and where she was coming to, and watching her blossom and open up and smile and just be the girl that she really should be. That is so worthwhile. So I would recommend it to anyone who is thinking about doing. There will be difficult times. There will be many happy, funny times, but it's such a worthwhile thing to do, because you will learn so much about yourself and about other people and about what's going on in the world.
Fantastic. Well, I think that's a really sort of excellent point to end on. And so, could I first of all thank all our panelists for joining us today, and for sharing your experiences. I should just give a quick reminder that of our website, which has more information about what we're doing at MAD Foundation and Operation SafeDrop, which can be found at www.operationsafedrop.com. On behalf of all of the Operation SafeDrop team, both here in Ukraine, also in Poland and the UK, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this webinar, and we hope that you'll be able to register with us as a UK sponsor. Thank you very much indeed, and goodbye.